My name is Mike, and this is the Hot Seat. On the Hot Seat today, George Zimmerman charged with second-degree murder. And it is my contention, folks, that George Zimmerman is going to be railroaded right into prison. The George Zimmerman case is going to be the exact opposite of the O.J. Simpson trial. For those of you that may remember that, after the trial was over, black jurors were interviewed, and a couple of them came right out and said there was no way that they were going to come down with a guilty verdict on one of their own and a hero such as O.J. Simpson. And likewise, in this case, there is no way that black people on this jury for George Zimmerman are going to come away with a not guilty verdict. And I certainly would hate to be a juror on this case. Could you imagine what it's going to be like every evening in that deliberation room? You think they're all going to get along? You think it's all going to be a party? It's going to be a free-for-all in there. And if you think that fear and intimidation isn't going to be used in that deliberation room, well, you're very naive. On top of that, if I was a juror, I would be afraid that my name and address is going to be leaked out on Twitter, Facebook, you name it. And how do we know that these jurors won't receive death threats? How do we know their family won't be put in peril like George Zimmerman's parents were? And how do we know that the jurors on that panel won't convict him guilty just to get this behind them? Could you imagine if the Panthers, Michelle Williams, and Al Sharpton aren't satisfied with anything less than a murder 2 conviction and life behind bars? So do you really think that George Zimmerman is going to get a fair trial? I say no. And if he is convicted, what kind of a jail life is he going to have? You think it's all going to be beer and Skittles out there and Gen Pop? This guy's life will be in danger every single day. And only because his name is George Zimmerman and not Jose Rios. And that's what this is all about. It's not about a black kid, which is the true tragedy. It's not about a kid being killed in whatever the circumstances are. That's not what this is about. This is about black versus white. And the comments made by Michelle Williams, she should be in jail. And of course, Eric Holder, who is also black, hasn't said a word. And of course, the Florida government, the cowardly governor, hasn't said a word about the bounties, about the threats, because they're afraid. They're afraid of the black militant. And speaking of which, Miss Williams, you talk about suiting up and booting up. Do you really want to take on white America? Do you really want to go to guns? Let me tell you how that would look. By you challenging white America to a street fight is like a Pop Warner football team challenging the Super Bowl champion New York Giants. How do you think that would work out? You really want to take on the neo-Nazis? You really want to take on the Ku Klux Klan, the militias, the NRA, people that hunt for sport? You want to take on all those people? I don't think you do. The true tragedy here is that a teenager was killed. And the tragedy is that the Florida police sat on it. And the tragedy is that you have the stand your ground law. In every state, when a policeman shoots his gun, whether there's a death or not a death, his gun is taken away and he's got to go in front of internal affairs. That's the tragedy. That this case should have been examined immediately. But now it's been blown into a white versus black. And folks, we all lose. The only ones that win are the Al Sharptons, the neo-Nazis, the white racists, the black racists who make a living off of hatred. We as a people lose. White people lose and black people lose. And that's the tragedy. This is going to be a circus. And before I split, just real quick, that fat broad Hillary Rosen, the comment she made against Romney's wife was ridiculous and insulting all American moms. All American stay-at-home moms and dads too. Hillary, you're just like Lisa Lampanelli. You're just a frustrated fat broad. Keep your mouth shut. Because I have very high respect and I have admiration for stay-at-home moms and dads. Because that is a tough job. And you know what? Children benefit when a parent is home and not shuffled off to daycare. My name is Mike. This is The Hot Seat.